you know, dude, we do this every week. And every week, you know, we essentially we say the same thing. Another one.
Special cloth. I'm gonna steal. I'm sorry, DJ Khaled. Special cloth alert.
Yeah. I was supposed to have the air horns there, but it's not quite working.
I cite my sources, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
MLA format, right?
Format. You're an idiot. So we've got another press play for you, ladies and gentlemen. It is this week we decided it's a movie that didn't just come out just this week, but it was recommended. Shout out Sergio, who is a part of the podcast. He recommended this film. We are doing Shithouse,
yes.
Which is let me give you the quick synopsis. It's about a homesick college freshman who goes to a party at I guess a frat house called Shithouse, and ends up spending the night with a sophomore RA who's had a shitty day and wants someone to hang out with. This was directed and written by Cooper Raiff, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. My apologies if that's not. But let's just we're already clearly way over time here. Let's just jump into the plot. What do we think about the plot of this film? I'm very curious to hear what you have to think. By the way,
I was unimpressed by the plot.
Ooh, okay.
I was pleased with the final product.
Okay, explain.
This film seems, looks, and feels and tastes like you've had it before, right? It's like, to me, this was like when I go to Chipotle, right? I know I'm going to get something. I know it's going to be good. Whenever you ever had a bad meal at Chipotle.
Keep the metaphors to a minimum. Let's just tell me.
I can't help myself. Just let me go. When I'm on a roll, just let me roll.
Let Russ cook.
So again, like college movie, guy, girl, they like each other, they don't like each other, they fall in love, they don't fall in love, something happens, they end up together in the end, right? It feels like you've seen it before, but not in this way, which was really interesting to me. Again, because when I was watching this, I was like, even when you first sent it to me, I was like, oh, fuck, I wish we were can we just watch something with Ben Affleck in it? What has he done lately? He's always a good go-to. But as I was watching this movie, minute by minute, I was constantly impressed by it. So again, homesick college freshman goes to a party at Shithouse. You can't help but relate to these characters. We've got this this young man played by Cooper Raiff, Alex Malquist, who's trying to find himself in college, right? And like he has these presumptions about what the college experience is, right? Like, oh, like everyone here is bullshit, like no one's being themselves, or like, college is just bullshit and everyone's fake, like those types of presumptions, right? And he's like detaching himself from the experience. Like he's trying to be above the experience. It's like one of those situations where like you think you're the smartest person in the room, but you're not even really acknowledging like everybody else in the room is smart too. Like you're just another smart person in the room. Enjoy the moment. He meets this young woman, Maggie Hill, played by Dylan Galula, who presents him with like a challenge he's yet to experience, right? Like a young woman she's not intimidated by the experience. She's like, I'm here for it. Like I'm here for all of this college shit. And she has like a certain maturity that like he doesn't have, right? She's like, I thrive alone. That is where I found this movie to be a lot more interesting, is that like, watching this guy navigate this experience that we've all experienced. I mean, anyone who went to college, that we've all experienced, and like college is a tricky place, right? Like how do you navigate this thing? And it's always interesting watching two people go through the same thing and experience it very differently, but at the same time, like they end up in the same place. That's what made me really enjoy this movie towards the end.
So this is a very interesting movie for me to watch, right? Because you said before that it was relatable. And I think that's, for me, it was 100% relatable. It was a very enjoyable movie to watch, but also a deeply uncomfortable movie to watch. And I might be revealing too much of my own personal life in this review of this movie, but I feel like you can't really, with how personal he got with the movie, talking about Cooper Raiff, because this is basically like a autobiography about basically his life. I feel like I also have to be sort of like, transparent in a way in terms of the reality. I fucking related to this character so much. And it was like the hardest thing to fucking sit through because
you didn't have any friends in college. No one liked you.
That's fair. Yeah, that's very true, actually.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, so I commuted basically through.
Did I beat
through all
you up
years.
in college?
This asshole.
Listen, our listeners are like, oh my God, I feel so sorry for her. Let me subscribe. Thanks. We got 1 million more subscribers.
All because you proposed to be a jerk. No, but yeah, like, and not even just in college, but like even in high school too, because I went to one school, the school we both went to.
I thought you went to Atherton.
I did. I went to both. I went to Atherton and Wild Lake.
Okay,
Yeah.
You graduated from Atherton, right?
Yes. I started off at Wild Lake and got redistricted to Atherton.
That's why you took a turn for the worse.
Redlining, I guess. That's what I took a turn for the worse. But I relate to this character because of his like sensitivity, right? So what I found really interesting about this movie, and I'm glad that I kind of had the experience that I've had going into the movie. So I've been listening a lot to a lot of like 90s rap, hip hop. And I remember listening to Mobb Deep's Shook Ones, and how's the song begin? For real niggas who ain't got no feelings, right? That's what we're taught as kids, as teenagers is, oh yeah, like if you're emotionless as a guy, yeah, that's A1. That's what that's exactly what you want to be.
Men.
Yes.
Very toxic.
Yeah, it's and I think, maybe toxic's like an overused term, but I think it correctly illustrates or correctly depicts exactly like what it is to, I think, be a young man, especially back, 90s, 2000s, forever, I guess. Since
the beginning of time.
Is, this whole idea of, you don't have to display emotion. Like, that's bullshit. You're not a real man if you display emotion. This movie is completely, it turns all that on its head, basically, right? Alex is nothing but emotional the entire fucking time. Every fucking scene you think, are you gonna cry, Alex? Are tears gonna come out of your eyes? Which, as I'm watching it, I was finding it painful because here he's, lusting after this woman, that he meets, Maggie, and it's hard to tell who the villain and the hero of the story is, right? Because on one hand, you might say, oh, it's Maggie because she just, they have this really fucking fantastic night together where they're both just vibing and, they have this good rapport. And then all of a sudden she just acts like she doesn't fucking know him like the next day, and it's easy to paint her as the villain. But the truth of the matter, and this is something that I personally had to figure out along the way, and I'm going to tell like a story here that I really shouldn't tell, but I want to tell.
Tell it.
It's not like an embarrassing story, but it's just one that cuts deep for me.
Fuck it then. No one cares about your feelings, your past, your emotions, what you've been through.
For real niggas, we ain't got no. So like, he meets Maggie and, he's lusting after her, and it's something like that I had to learn over the course of time. It's just like, yo, Maggie doesn't owe you a goddamn thing. Like, she doesn't owe you a fucking thing. Like, and I think that's what's so crazy about some of these like sensitive guys and like, oh my gosh, I've always listened to like, I think it's Vertical Horizon song is like, it's basically like a song about like, I'm everything that you want, but you don't want me or whatever. It's just like, well, no, that's not a real thing, right? Like, I don't just say magic words and then you're like, oh, you're the person, right? Like, that's not a thing, right? It's just, oh, like, do I vibe with you? Do I just fuck with you? Like it's more about that than about like, I just say a magic combination of things and then suddenly you're in love with me. And I think that's a lot of these sensitive guys. That's how it's depicted, right? It's just that like, I'm saying all the things that you want to hear, but you don't love me. And it's just like, well, yeah, because you're just saying shit. Like half the time you probably don't even fucking mean the thing you're saying. You're saying it because you think it's like the right words, you know? And I think that that's how I kind of viewed love and like relationships when I was younger, which is why I had such a difficult time. I think, you know, as I sort of got older a little bit, of building long lasting like romantic relationships, is because you kind of view it in that way. And that's exactly how I think Alex, even if he didn't, like, even if Cooper didn't mean to like write it this way, but that's exactly sort of how I was seeing it on screen, was just like, just fucking just endless wave of just like, no, I'm sensitive and I'm, you know, I'm nice and I'm caring and you should like me because like I'm that. It's just like, no, she can do whatever the fuck she wants. If she wants to wake up tomorrow and fuck somebody else, she can do that, because, you know, she doesn't owe anything to you, you know? Is it weird? Maybe. Uh-oh.
Nope.
Is it weird maybe that she did that? Yes. But that's what gets me into the sort of the other part of the movie that I really appreciated, was this idea of how we process grief, right? That we all process grief very fucking differently. Some people like to process grief by crying, right? That just cry, let's cry it out, right? Like something happened, let me just fucking cry that shit out, right? Some people just like to fuck other people in order to get get away from the grief, and then cry later, right? Like you still cry, but it's after you just fuck a whole bunch of people, right? Nobody can really fucking like, sure, some shit is more healthier than others, but I can't fucking tell you how to process grief. So if you're a person who ends up sleeping with somebody, right? Like, and he slept with her on the first night that he essentially like met her, like really like knew her or had any interaction with her, you can't wake up the next day and be like, no, we must make this thing work. You must basically be my girlfriend. And it's like,
especially
what kind of
when you
bullshit
couldn't get hard
the
first time.
Say one more time.
Remember, he couldn't get hard the first time.
Oh yeah, that was very, yeah.
Then,
it's hard to come back from that. Yeah,
then
no
you're
pun intended.
lucky if she even lets you stay the night,
Yeah.
right? Come on, guy.
Yeah, like let's be real.
Guy.
Come on, you can't go soft and then expect. Come on,
and then say, "Oh, the blood's in my head." No, bro. Listen, she lets you get a second try and be thankful for that. Leave first. Don't even stay the night. Yeah. Leave.
You're like
immediately.
You know what you're like? You're like Quibi. You gotta like, come on, let's cut our losses while we.
Yeah, listen, I'm sorry. I did make up for it on the back end. I'll cancel
be thankful
your
for what.
And I'll fucking leave.
So it's all that, and then obviously I think the plot steals heavily from. I'm sure you haven't watched it, but it's the Before Sunrise series that this movie really stole from, where basically you get two people that just meet like that night, and then you just follow their conversation the entire night. Yet it's like, and one of the reasons why I think you actually would like the Before Sunrise series is that that's all the Before Sunrise series is made by Richard Linklater and has Julie Depley and Ethan Hawke who star in it. It's literally just them having a conversation basically throughout the entire series. It's 3 movies, but it's like some of the most entertaining shit that I like. Again, I've said this before on this podcast. It's my favorite series. It's my favorite trilogy of films. And the reason why is because it's so fucking engaging while there's like nothing else going on. There's no explosions. There's no fucking, urgent situation that needs to be solved. It's just two people talking about fucking life and shit. And yet you feel like you're part of that journey. Yeah. And I think that this movie did a good job in sort of mimicking that sort of same motif, where you just get them just strolling through, going on these weird sort of like side adventures, but it's just them basically talking the entire time, and you get so much from them as far as like emotion, as far as understanding who they're, who they are as people. And it's some of the most entertaining shit that I think can be done with movies. But you also brought up a point that I thought was really good, and I promise this is the end. I know this is a very long conversation about the plot, but the idea of being alone, right? Like that was a really specific, I think, thing about this movie is that you have Alex, who's really sad about, being away from his mom and his sister, which, by the way, I think one of the dropped sort of plot points about this movie was his sister. It seemed like there's something going on with his sister. It was so interesting. Like one of the first times we see her on screen, she's like drunk, and yet she's 15. And it's just like, okay, like, can we figure out like what's going on here? And like her mom's, she's like next to her mom while we know she's drunk. clearly she's
her
drunk.
mom
Alex
knows
says she's drunk.
Yeah.
And
So did she get
it's-
drunk with her mom, or she had a
no,
party
she was.
got drunk?
I believe she was at a party and then she came home. And
Maybe
then,
was it one of those relationships where the mom is living like vicariously through her daughter?
no, so Alex says it in the in the movie. She's very much a mom. Like she's very much caretaker, trying to take care of everybody.
But it is Texas though, so
yeah, they did live in Texas.
you start drinking at 10 and shooting guns at 11.
Is it coke by 12?
Not in Texas. No. You smuggle for the Mexican cartel by 12 because you're right by the border.
Yeah, but you gotta do what? Do weed? What is it? You gotta do something. By 12.
No, you don't. What? They will kill you if you.
Pablo,
you're
Pablo
a
King.
trafficker.
Yeah.
You're not. You don't get high on your.
As Frank Lucas, never get
It's
high
the
on your own
Mexican
supply.
cartel. You don't take their product.
Fair enough. It's not blue magic. You don't want to. Yeah. So yeah, she was a very interesting character that we just never really get to like, and I'm sure there's got to be tons of scenes that they cut for time's sake that they didn't get to because it felt like there was just more to that character.
Yeah.
She doesn't even have very many lines out the movie, but the emotion.
There's a
that
whole
she
scene
displays.
where he's on the phone talking to his mom
In the
about,
car,
hey,
yeah.
I really need to like dive into this college thing, and then the sister's just in the car like.
No, but the emotion on her face was
Yeah.
there where it looked like she was about to cry, but then she doesn't, I guess, because her mom's kind of losing it a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe she feels like she needs
Like,
to
you
be
got to be strong
a little
for the other
tougher,
person
but you
in
can
the
tell
car.
she's holding something back. Yeah.
So yeah, to your point, there was something there, but like she doesn't even get one line.
Which, I thought that was so interesting that they didn't like dive into that because it felt like somewhere where we should have explored.
Because if you're
more.
really in that car and you're talking to your brother on the like, you're gonna say something,
Yeah.
right?
Especially if they were as close as like
As
they
he
were
let
saying,
on,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It was just him talking to the mom, and his sister was like listening in. But if the family's that close, it's like a family conversation.
Yeah.
I thought that was weird too.
I thought it was weird, but also I think maybe it was a creative choice based off of time, but also, I would have loved to dive a little more with that. But this idea of being alone in college was something clearly like during that same conversation you're talking about, he displayed so much fucking emotion that was, if it looked and it felt genuine in that moment when he was basically just talking about how much he loved them, but also he didn't really try in college. Like the reason why he was having such a shitty time is because he just didn't do anything. He just grabbed food at a cafeteria, went back up to his room. And then the time where he sees some people that he kind of like was a little bit of friends with, he ate with them and it was great and it was awesome. He had a great day, but I think that speaks to just like general, like life in general. Is just like oftentimes it's a case where you think the world's shitty, the world sucks, the world's whatever. Sometimes you're just not trying. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you do try, right? Sometimes you make an effort and then like, somebody's just like, get the fuck away from me. I don't need any new friends. No new friends. It's Drake. You're trying to be friends with me.
Yeah.
It's like no new friends. But sometimes you don't try and you never, and I think that's the whole point of it is, right? You have to keep trying. Like, it's not something where you try and you get turned down and it's just like, oh, that's it. It's like, no, you have to keep at it, right? In order to, to potentially get to the place that you want to be in life.
If you try once and you quit after that, and then you form an assumption about the experience or the people that you had the experience with off of one effort, then like you're doing yourself an disservice. Everybody else is going to go on and be happy, and they're going to I'm going to keep trying it. This thing it's fun. It's worthwhile. And you're just going to be the guy sitting by yourself, eating alone. And then you're going to look back on it and like, damn, I wish I would have tried at least one more time.
Exactly. And so
like the people at Quibi,
I think that, that's kind of like the part of the movie that I really loved is the fact that it's the idea that college is a weird place where you're both alone and together with people, right? Like it's this place where you don't really know, especially if you go off to college, you're on campus, you're living on campus. You don't really know, especially if you're a freshman, you don't really know anybody theoretically. And yet, you're supposed to like go out, make friends, do all this shit. Right. And so it's a weird place where you're both alone, but also together with people, which is a hard thing to navigate. You have to learn how to be an adult on your own in terms of like, how can I just like, you saw him, how he's going through the montage. It was like Rocky, where he's just like, all right, I'm going to go get on the treadmill. I'm going to go, I don't know, make my bed or do whatever the fuck it is. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. How do I start adulting, which is you being alone? also being together with people in terms of talking to people, making friends, going to different, events, doing whatever, right? It was hard as fuck. It brought back a lot of feels from
Yeah, I
both
can tell you
college as
like
well
this
as like
movie.
high.
You really...
But it was weird. It
You've
wasn't
been
just
talking about this plot for
a long time.
45 minutes.
Exactly. It wasn't just that I liked the movie. I just found it really relatable. But like, it wasn't that I just really liked it. It was just I could, yes, like whatever is happening here, I can remember a time when I kind of like felt like that.
I saw another college movie recently that was like kind of like an over dramatized version of college or high school. Was it a movie that we watched?
Might have been. I don't know.
Was it a show that we watched? It was something that I watched recently that was like over dramatized. And I remember like talking to somebody about it and be like, yeah, that's not how like high school really is. Oh, you know what? It was Booksmart. Finally saw Booksmart.
Yeah.
And it was like it was
but
like
also,
high school.
Also, it's high
steroids.
school like now though, which is different from high school when we were in high school. You know what I mean?
I guess they do have
a different
Snapchat, and
yeah,
Twitter now.
it's a different kind of vibe.
And they have Quibi too.
Correction, they had
They
Quibi.
had Quibi. Yeah.
So anyways, I
know
don't
who
I,
had Quibi. I bet Alex had Quibi. So he's
He
a
probably
fucking
did, yeah.
loser. So
okay, right before we move on from plot, one of the most hilarious scenes was like literally like the opening scene where like basically his talking dog or his dog that he talks to, which is making side comments on
him, like when he was talking to his
when he was talking
roommate?
to his roommate. It was fucking. He was like, his roommate was telling a joke, and he was and the dog, and he was like, "Oh yeah, do you think that would work like in actual stand up?" And then Alex is like, "Yeah, I think that would work." And the dog in like caption is like, "What?"
I do. The dog was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I did like.
I'm sad that they didn't bring the dog back throughout the.
Yeah, because towards the beginning it was just that was it.
It was just being yeah.
But so let's jump into
the characters.
though.
Yeah.
I want to let you take this first,
Sure.
Because I have. I want to see if because whenever we normally do this, I feel like I go first, and then like we have the same. We mirror each other.
I think it's going to be this. Well, let me not say that. I don't know if it's going to be the same, but
I think it's going to be different this time around.
Okay, fair enough. So I think my runner-up, I think it has to be Cooper Raiff as Alex Memquist, because yeah, there's the emotion that he displays and the fact. Look, for anybody to write, direct, and act in their own film, I don't give a shit how it turns out. You get my fucking applause.
Oh,
fucking job well done. Because that is a task to fucking do. And so just for the fact that he did all that, he gets my applause. I think the MVP for this film, clearly to me, I think is Dylan Guila. Guila? I don't know. Is that how you pronounce the name?
100%
who played
not.
Maggie.
The fuck is she from anyway?
Yeah, I don't know. Who played Maggie Hill? So I actually was wondering
Philly.
I was like, where do I know her face from? I know her face from somewhere.
She was in
Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. That's where I know her from.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, I was like, yo, she looks so familiar. And I remember like her mannerisms and thinking that it was just weird and quirky. And I was like, oh shit, like she's from Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I thought her ability to hop in and out of emotions and to kind of display emotions a bit, but not really display them. I thought it was just simply mesmerizing in terms of just like her awkwardness. Like it was just what she was able to do with the role was, I think, brilliant. I think I can just sum it up like that because I took a lot of time in the plot to talk, and I know everybody's suffering on the couch right now because we've been talking for a long time.
Changing positions, changing butt cheeks.
Yeah.
So, runner up. My first runner up, I got to give it to Juan Wood, who plays Charlie, the basketball player who was kind of like the doorman at the house party.
Oh shit! Yeah, that was a fantastic scene. Yeah.
So very limited screen time, obviously, right? But what a way to like breathe air into the movie for just a short period of time.
Yeah.
And do it so interestingly, and like he was like he brought comedy to it. He was funny, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember watching the movie and it was so like somber, right? It was like, oh, they fucked and now he's upset and she's happy and he's a fucking loner and then And then you get to this house party and it's like, this guy's funny. He's like, he really feels like a guy I knew in college, right? Like when you go to the house party, he was like one of the guys there. He felt real.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, all of these characters are the oldest fucking college sophomores and freshmen I've ever seen.
Nah, I know. I've known people who like look in actually sound like Alex.
No, like the guy Alex. I mean, like I'm like, yo, he's 27. He looks 27, but he's like playing a college freshman
I know
or
dudes
sophomore.
like that.
And even the girl Maggie, she's like,
she doesn't look a day over 12.
Fuck no. In real life, she's like 26.
I know,
but like in the movie, she looked like 23.
No, she didn't.
I swear to God. So I got to give the actor Juan Wood, who plays Charlie, I got to give him a nod, because that to me was like a moment throughout the film that I really remember. I was like, all right, fresh air, you know, something different. It feels a little bit different. This is fun, and I really enjoyed. And then like the scene where he's like chasing him, the least athletic basketball player. Because did you see them running?
Yeah,
like,
it was.
You could tell neither of
not,
them had ran in the past 3 years.
Yeah. In fact, they only did one take.
They had no stride. No one fucking.
There's no extension.
None of them ran track. Right. You could tell this basketball team, D3 basketball team for sure, never made any conference finals. Anyway, I got to give it to Juan Wood. For me, his character, that his presence on film just brought like breathe air into the room.
Sure.
Obviously, Cooper Raiff as Alex Marquez. I mean, I think anyone who could write, direct, and star in their own film and do a good job in all of those areas, you get
thanks
my
for
shout out.
Exactly what I said. Basically.
Yeah, no. Listen, I know you said it first, but don't steal my words. Dylan, I'm gonna go with Galula. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Galula.
You almost had me convinced until you kept saying it.
I'm gonna go with Galula. She's great.
It's the best.
She's the best. Yeah. I know many.
I found her.
Many Dylans.
I discovered
They're
her.
All great people. Right. So, it felt so natural. Like the way she played this character, it felt like she was playing like a version of herself.
Yeah.
At no point throughout this, I mean, from the very beginning, from the very moment her character was introduced, it felt authentic. You didn't question her character or who she was at any point in time throughout the movie. She had like highs. I don't mean highs and lows in terms of like her acting ability. I mean like the moments when she was high, when she was bright, when she was fun. She had the moments when she was low, just like quiet, all the emotions that like real people go through. And you never for a second question the character that she was playing. Yeah. You didn't even think about, oh, this is a actress playing a character. You're like, no, she is this person. She is Maggie Hill. I thought her performance was stellar here. So Cooper, I know you wrote and directed and starred in this film. You did a great job. Whoever casted Dylan for this role, what an incredible casting, because she delivered in this.
I actually tried to find the casting by credit on this film, and I couldn't find it on IMDb. But let's hop into the cinematography real quick. So the cinematographer of the film were Rachel Klein, and the film was edited by Autumn Day, or D, I guess maybe it's how it's pronounced, and also Cooper Raiff has a editing credit. So the editing for me was a little bit choppy, for which I guess counts in the cinematography of the film, but it was a little choppy for me. It was like kind of like a low budget movie, is sort of how it felt. And I don't say that in the vacuum of like I'm just trying to be critical, because if I were to make a film right now, a feetor film, it would probably look somewhat similar to that, as far as just some parts of it were a little choppy as far as the cuts and some of those things. But what I can say is that one of the great things, whether it's they did this with a lot of the edits, or whether this was in the script and they just captured this with the cinematography for it, the pauses in the film are excruciating, right? So the moments where somebody says something and then the other person just doesn't know how to fucking react, and they just are just there, and we're all just having to live in that moment. Yeah. Oh, they're excruciating, and they're perfect. They fit the film. They make the film, I think, to me. Is you have so many moments between both Alex and Maggie that are just these awkward, weird moments where neither of them really know what to say, and they're just like, Okay.
Yeah,
Like, and then you get a lot of that. You
And
know?
then even as like the viewer, you're just like,
Somebody needs something.
something blow up, right? Because we're used to that. When you're watching a Michael Bay movie, it's like he fills that space and time with an explosion.
Yeah. That's
no
that's the way it
reason.
works. Yeah. And then Shia LaBeouf running out of somewhere.
Just run. Tom Cruise just starts sprinting.
And so I thought that was that was kind of like a brilliant sort of choice, and I think maybe it was a natural thing / a conscious choice to do that. So I very much appreciated that. Outside of that, the cinematography for me was kind of pretty standard and fair for this type of movie.
Yeah. So the thing I love the most, like when they were inside of like a particular environment, right? Like when they're inside the dorm room, inside the house party, inside the cafeteria, I felt in those scenes the cinematography was pretty standard. What I really, really liked is the outdoor scenes. They use this style of shooting where it's like the characters weren't quite centered, right? They were not necessarily not out of focus, but they weren't. You're a fucking film guy.
And
What's
I don't
it
know
called?
What the fuck
They're
you're trying to get to.
off center. I'm just gonna say off center.
Sure.
So like remember in their walk up to the mountain to bury her turtle, there were a lot of scenes in which maybe like the camera was still and you saw the actors' motions across the camera, and then they kind of went off camera. I remember the one scene where they're walking up the hill, just like I'm out of focus right now.
Framing.
Yeah, I'm out of frame. Yeah, so there were scenes in which like you heard the conversation, right? Like and you were very much like involved in the moment, but like the actors and the actresses weren't quite on camera, right? They were out of frame, but like you're still very much involved in like the moment, the conversation that they're having. Again, particularly in their journey up to the top of the hill at the school to bury the turtle. I'm not sure if you caught it, but there were a lot of moments in which like there was a still camera, there were no actors or actresses in frame, but you're still there.
Yeah.
I feel like they did that tastefully. It's like I don't really even need to see you, I just need to hear you.
Yeah.
And like feel like what's going on, feel the conversation that you're having. And
Yeah.
I feel like they did that really, really well when they were in like outdoor environments. They didn't do it well when they were like in the dorm room, in the cafeteria, at the party.
You know what's really interesting that actually you just reminded me of is two things. One, you like the scenes where the scene that stood out for me cinematography wise was actually the sex scene, the first sex scene between Alex and Maggie. And the reason why I did is because the camera doesn't move. Like the camera just stays basically at the top of the bed.
Yeah.
And it's capturing the viewpoint looking at the headboard.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't change. And you just get these, like you go from them to like, kissing and rubbing and all that stuff. And then to when he's like, yeah, this is not going to work. And the camera doesn't break one time. It just stays on that same exact shot.
Yeah.
It's very static.
See, I like that because it felt like you're the roommate.
Yeah, just
under the covers watching like.
I'm sure you've done that a couple times.
Oh yeah. Listen, I'm a watcher. Okay. That's the shit. That's the porn that I watch. Shout out to Pornhub.com.
Yeah. So this is a particular scene that we're talking about.
I rewound that scene.
Good shit, Eddie.
Like, I turned all the lights off. I even got under the covers.
That's
like,
weird. Okay, you're releasing too much information. I don't need to know
I
that.
want you to get to know me.
Yeah, I don't want to. You reminded me of that, as well as the second thing I was going to say was something about the dialogue. And now I lost it. I lost what the fuck I was going to say.
Oh, well. Probably a good thing.
It's probably for sake of time. So let's move on to the last thing, which is, and we can move through super quick, which is the soundtrack. The music by credit on here is Jack Krause. Let me just say quickly, some of the music I thought was it was clearly like the indie kind of music that would go along with a movie like this. Some of it was too like we didn't need all of it. Just simplify this, pare it down a little bit. Maybe some little jingles here and there, but nothing that heavy. In fact, a lot of the moments that I really appreciated were the moments without music in it.
Yeah.
And I think that was a choice that they made because maybe they were looking at other movies that are pretty similar to this particular movie, so they felt like maybe the obligatory indie fucking whatever song that they wouldn't add to it. I didn't think it was necessary in this situation, but that's just my own humble opinion.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I think like the scenes in which like either the music was not present or they went with like an instrumental,
Yeah.
whether it's like an acoustic guitar or like some type of strings or something like that in place of actual music.
Yeah.
Those are the only times in which I really noticed the music, other than like the times they were at the party, whereas like you expect the music. Other than that, absence of music or more like instrumental background type of like strings, something that like gave like texture and flavor to like whatever scene you're watching, were more powerful than like the actual music.
Yeah. So let's wrap this up. Let me give you that quick story that I promised. Quick story. So the reason why this movie kind of like hit me a different way is because I identify with his character so much. In fact, I kind of was just like pissed at his character because it's just like, so I met a woman, and we hooked up. It was it's great, but also it was a case where it was just like, read the room, bro. Like, this has a natural expiration date. Let's just let it expire,
Yeah.
But it's when you're going through your own shit where you're going through your own, again, like maybe you're going through something in your life where you're sad about something, and you need something to distract you. And so you're like, this is it. Now I have the thing to distract me from that emptiness and pain that I feel. So you pour yourself into this thing when it doesn't need that kind of attention, and then you're like, you call a lot, text messages, and there's just nothing more. Like, my worst fear in life is to get to a really like high stature in life, just to have somebody like, but he sent me these text messages like 10 years ago, because it's going to be embarrassing, I'm sure. Like, he said he loved me, and it's like,
see, I would love that. I'm like, yeah, look at my Range Rover. What are you driving?
What does that even mean in this scenario?
Yeah,
Why does that
fucking throw a grenade over at her. Like, fuck you.
So
where do you even get grenades?
I don't know, dude. What are we talking about?
I don't know.
So
well, now I'm gonna have to find out for us both, just in case we ever need them.
Just in case. But so we dated, not dated, but just we hooked up, and I kind of like overstayed the welcome, and I text messages and calling and just like, hey, it was great. Why don't you want to continue this? And it's just like, there's nothing more unattractive than that like side of it, of just like, just come on, dude. Like, and I keep wanting to go back to the younger self and like,
what's your worst
just let it go
pre-hookup story? Like
pre-hookup story,
post
hookup story about like, obsessing about it, or
posthumous sex. Let's bring that word back.
I don't know how that fits in this scenario, but okay.
When you smash something, man or woman, if you smash, you smash.
Yeah.
And then like you just didn't handle the posthumous sex well.
I'll
go first.
Sure.
I remember.
Yeah, you definitely.
I have no.
Let's hurry this up though, because we gotta.
I remember one time, and this is like when memes were like first a thing, right? Like sending memes were like, it was new.
Sure.
This is like 2013. I remember I met this girl at the bar. It was like 2012. Met this girl at the bar. She was the aggressor, right? She came up to me like, dude, like, I fucking like you. We were making out at the bar. We went back to my place, smashed. Next morning, we hooked up again, and I'm like, oh, this is fucking great. I was like, you want to go to brunch? Like, you want to get go get some food? She's like, nah. I'm out. I'm like,
cool. All
right. I remember I sent her this text, not a text, a meme.
Yeah.
Terrible meme.
Oh no.
It was like some meme like you're great.
Oh, Jesus.
I think you're awesome.
At least it was it cheesy enough where it was ironic?
No, it was just bad.
Yeah.
Like I have nightmares about it. It was like it was the most like cheesy, just fucking like to this day, despite everything that's happened, if I had a time machine, I could go back. I could change the course. If I collected all 6 or all 5 Infinity Stones,
kill baby Hitler. Nope. Just fuck that. Go back to this moment.
Unsend that text message. If Tony was like, listen, I want to keep everything I have. I want to bring back everything that we lost. Right? I'm like, Tony, I'm sorry. Fuck your kid. I don't care if you and Pepper got married. I don't care if we lost half of. I'm gonna unsend that text message.
Oh my god. Yeah. No. I honestly, I think I think it may not be the most like event laden story, but I think it's this story that I was telling about this woman I hooked up with, and it was just like, and it was a case where she was just doing her own thing. Like she's a grad student and she's like working on her grad shit. And then here's this like little fucking pipsqueak dude just like, hey, what's up? How's it going? You okay? Is everything all right? And it's just like, just go on, do better, dude.
That's why I'm glad on Instagram now you can unsend text messages.
Can you?
You can unsend messages. Yeah. So to any of our listeners, do what I do. Unsend that shit if you don't get a response within 15 minutes. You'll thank me.
They can still see that you sent it though.
So. That you listen to all 4 hours of this episode.
Yeah, it's been about 5 hours. But yeah. So I identify with the story, man, and I like, no matter what you might think about the story, I just very much appreciate somebody being that bare with their own story, because clearly it's something that was really personal to him, and a very just kind of like quiet story in terms of just like nothing crazy happens. It's just somebody kind of just going through shit. But I appreciate that he was willing and able to kind of go there with himself for a lot of the shit, especially the shit with his family of like being just because. How much of that is just like, forget this stuff that happened with the relationship, displaying that stuff that he was talking about with his family of just like missing them and like really, he just like really loved them. That was a lot to bear, to like show people. And so like, shout out to Cooper Raiff.
Last thing, if you take anything from this movie, I'm just fucking be honest. Like, be honest with yourself about your emotions. Be honest with yourself about the troubles that you're going through. Whether it's like, hey, I'm struggling, because he wasn't afraid to like, hey, I'm struggling here. I'm having a hard time. And she was like, I'm not having a hard time here, but I've had a hard life. I've come from like, I've struggled with my experiences here. I feel comfortable because I've struggled so much there. That is like the one theme that I took from this movie. So if you're in college right now or high school and you're a fucking clown like this guy Alex, just know that there's what's on the other side of the rainbow? Is it a pot of gold? Is that how that saying goes? I'm bad with euphemisms.
Yeah, we're just gonna move on. So
there's a pot of gold at the end of at the other side of the rainbow, or is there a fucking evil leprechaun? What is it?
I think both. I don't know.
Both?
Yeah. Why not?
Anyway, we both like this movie. We press play on this movie. If you like this movie, sometimes you have to just move on and don't explain it.
Well, if I could tell my younger self that, I swear.
Oh yeah, me too. Don't send that text message over. She won't respond.
So yeah, shout out to Cooper Raiff. We love the film Shithouse. One weird note, super last thing, as Jenk would say on T by T. But I don't know why they named it Shithouse. The actual scene where they actually meet at Shithouse was such a small part of the fucking movie, and it's never really brought up again. I don't know why it was called Shithouse. Maybe just for thrills. Like, okay, there's nothing else really terribly exciting.
Maybe
about it,
it's just like a catchy movie title.
I think that's what
if
it was.
If you're scrolling and you see Shithouse,
you're like, might stop on that. Let's see what that's about.
It's SEO, right? Search engine optimization. It's people are gonna see this and they're gonna be like,
that nerd shit. I don't want to hear about all that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we press play on Shithouse. Drop a comment in the comment section below. Let us know what the fuck you think about the movie if you happen to see it. You can catch it on Amazon Prime. That's where we watched it. Also, I think it's on Vudu as well if you happen to have Vudu. Let us know what you think about the movie. I'm really curious what other people, especially people who had college experiences and things like that, how they felt about sort of where this film might have taken them emotionally. With that being said, look, this is a very long podcast, as was our last episode. Whatever, this is what we do. We like to talk. We like to talk movie shit. We like to talk entertainment shit. What do you want from us? This is what we do. This is what they pay us for. They don't pay us. Nobody pays us.
One day, somebody.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
The people at Quibi.
Yeah. Well, they obviously don't mind setting their money on fire. So
their last ditch effort. They're like, all right, this is all the money we've got
Fate
left.
Podcast, all in.
They push all the chips.
So
they only
yeah.
have a royal flush. No, they're not a royal flush. They just have.
I was like, that's good, isn't it?
They just have a jack, a 10, a 7 of clubs, and a 3 of hearts. Like, none of that means anything.
So we appreciate you guys listening to the podcast. If you stuck with it all the way through, we obviously know it was one of our longer podcasts, but we appreciate you. But hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button if you roll with us.